handy when you want to create images of visual conversation. So Robin and I are quite geeky on that level, aren't we? Um, so today is the first in our series for the Impact Toolkits program. And hopefully you know this, but I'm going to reiterate the purpose of this for anyone who hasn't read the outline. Um, we're going to talk about today the purpose of the program, the focus of the first series, and the breakdown of each of the sessions. We're going to talk through the reason for the creation of the program, who we have supporting the sessions, and we're going to want to hear more from you. So I'm going to be after Robin's piece, I'm going to be doing a bit of a run through of what we have planned. But this is very much a community conversation. This is the first time we've run this series, so we have created an outline, but we also want to hear from you. This is a proactive engagement. You can't just sit there and enjoy these sessions. You've got to come and talk to us as well. So we're going to help you through these sessions to find what good looks like in terms of your project and how to use this program moving forward and reach more people with your project, research, or idea. Lots of creative ways of engaging different people for different reasons. This is a very inclusive toolkit. It doesn't come with an agenda of what good looks like. It comes with an agenda of curiosity and ideas. And this toolkit series has been created for Shape academics to help increase the impact of their projects at all stages, whatever impact may mean. I know that's an interesting word. And it will provide you with all the information needed to share your project across multiple channels in many mediums, from infographics to podcasts, webinars to websites. And it's been designed as a series for you to dip into as needed or work through, full of practical guidance, peer examples, and plenty of inspiration. So we are recording all of these sessions, and they're all going to be placed on a platform for you to access. So if you can't make one of these, which I know some people have got in touch to let me know about that, don't worry. They're all going to be here for you to watch us back if you're having trouble sleeping, and work through all the sessions as well. And we're going to store all the sessions. We're also going to be transcribing them into long reads and key takeaways. And the series and platform will encourage collaboration and sharing of experiences and examples. It's designed to evolve and develop as we create new content, engage with more academics, and showcase new examples of best practice. So it's a living program. That's a key thing for me. And there go, lots of stuff going on. This is Robin having fun with graphics, the creative design, the websites. It's a toolkit. There is a kit full of tools, Robin. That's very, very, very literal of you. I love it. I have to get this bit over and done with. That's me. I was working on a project in London where they wanted a persona for their project audience. So I got an excuse to have a cartoon made of me and my little house rabbit Arya, who's currently snoring next door. Arya, obviously, if you watch Game of Thrones, small, feisty, dark-haired girl. My name is Lucy Payne, and I do many things. I spent 5 years at Sussex Innovation Centre helping, which is a business incubator, helping individuals through all stages of their business idea, from pre-start through to multi-million pound plateau. And I moved back to Bath 6 years ago, and I currently am an entrepreneur in residence at University of Bath. I head up the Tech Spark Swindon, Wiltshire, and also Bath community. I'm working on a couple of projects with the University of Bristol, as well as some work back in Brighton. I was in Brighton last week helping some Ukrainians work out what businesses they'd like to start or entities they'd like to start. Lots of different flavors of not-for-profits as well as projects and artistic projects as well. I did a lot of work in COVID helping the creative community. It was a pretty brutal time for anybody in the arts, so I did a lot of work with Brighton Council to try and look at what that support would look like and how they could be helped. So I do lots of random things. It's generally helping people expand their project idea, business, if that's how they relate to it. But I've worked with a lot of people at different stages, so that's why I'm a part of this project, and I'm fascinated in everything that we're going to be talking about over these next sessions as well. And I'm going to be joined on. I'm just the host. I have lots of people who know way more than me on all the topics we're going to be talking about, and I will be highlighting a couple of them today on the slides. So housekeeping. This is being run as a webinar, so you can ask questions. There is a question box there. You can talk in the chat to the panel, but because this is being recorded, we've gone for the webinar session because we didn't want it to be too distracted by conversations. That's what the platform will be for. So you will have a chance to share your ideas and feedback and examples. Look, Robin, you've got a little icon as well. Our guest speaker today to launch the webinar series in the Impact Toolkit program is Robin Halpenny. And we've worked together. We worked together at UE many years ago. I think I met you when I first moved back to Bristol when I was going around getting to know the ecosystem. And Robin is the Research Commercialisation Manager at the University of Bristol, where he supports academics in arts and social sciences and has a particular interest and passion in supporting social ventures. You've also run your own business as well, haven't you, Robin? You've got a good background. So Robin's LinkedIn. I like the way he shows a varied and wide-ranging background of experience. I think my career is more that I've just said lots yes to lots of things and ended up doing lots of things. I don't think I feel like I have a career. I've just been really curious, and I think you're very similar. So this includes working in different universities and sectors, as well as starting and running a number of businesses and social enterprises. Um, That said, Robin says his current role is the one he likes best, obviously, as he gets to work on lots of exciting and meaningful projects. You've got a lot of plates spinning, but I think that's how you're wired, isn't it? With great people, while still getting to keep his weekends free to spend time with the family. So, Robin, that's enough of me. I'm going to hand over to you.
Lovely, thank you. Yeah, my avatar was, I think, designed by my daughter, so that's why
It's
I
fabulous.
look the way I do. And at some point, Lucy, if you want to give me control to
Done.
share some stuff, that would be great. And thank you very much for that lovely intro. Good afternoon, everybody. So I asked Lucy to host the series, and then Lucy asked me to introduce the series. So kind of a bit of a payback on it. So to provide some context, and she'll, after I'm finished talking, she'll do more detail about each sort of specific webinar. So now I'll say a bit about the ambitions for the program, a bit about what else is out there, an aspect. Examples of toolkits, which I think will be really hopefully quite interesting, and give you an idea of things that you might be able to create as a result of sort of going through this webinar series. So I guess that the framing is that these sessions are for academics whose universities are members of Aspect, which I think everybody on this call will be, and who are creating resources or toolkits for impact. That said, you don't need to be an academic to benefit from these sessions, and you don't need to be actually creating a toolkit per se to benefit from these sessions. So I guess the starting point is academics, and Lucy mentioned it already, this specific focus is on shape academics, and some of you might be wondering what exactly sort of shape is. So I'm just going to share a very quick video. Bear with me.
Shape are social science, humanities, and arts academics that use impact to create change in society. In modern days, whenever there's a new problem, there tends to be a knee-jerk reaction saying that, oh, that's easy. Let's, number one, get
Robin, we
more
can't
funding.
see the video.
And number two, develop new technologies. When
I
in
could
fact,
hear him, but I can't see
societal
him. See,
problems
we
have
did tempt fate, didn't
holistic
we? We said we weren't going to have a tech
and
fail.
we
Ugh.
should really approach from a holistic
I can
standpoint.
still hear him.
That's what shape brings.
Let's just listen to it.
Create an innovation ecosystem that embraces both shape and STEM in all of its wondrous diversity and allows new models of thinking about how we're going to solve those big challenges. Let's face it, we need that right now.
It's gone quiet now.
Okay, yeah, that was interesting. It didn't actually share the video. Apologies for that. So yeah, I did jinx myself on that sort of side. So primarily the disciplines in shape, arts, humanities, and social sciences, and ultimately we are talking about people who are trying to do good. And I mentioned Aspect. So Aspect are a consortium of universities. It's membership universities. I think now there are 32 universities involved, and we all have a focus on creating impact at scale for shape disciplines. So that's academics, students, and support staff. And as a member, you are all able to sort of sign up and access all the resources and other training. So I guess the starting point as well, we said about toolkits, and I don't have a specific definition for what a toolkit is, but in the context of these webinars, I guess toolkit applies to two things. Firstly, the webinar series itself forming part of a toolkit of support that we're offering. And then secondly, actually, it's aimed for academics who are creating and developing their own toolkits, vehicles to deliver their impact. I'm sure many people will have different views of exactly what a toolkit is. Some people won't even call it a toolkit. And for some people, it's as simple as how to get resources out there. Some toolkits take the form of guidance, training, instructional documents, perhaps in PDF or otherwise. Some are captured visually, infographics, or perhaps in like a web form. And in more developed formats, we see resources being designed and shared on websites, apps, and other interactive tools. So if you don't like the word toolkit, substitute it every time I say it for something else. But simply put, we're talking about resources, the tools, and the different formats that we create to help display and share and communicate. So with regards to aspects, let me try and share this time again. Disabled participants, sorry, thanks. Let's see, because this is going to be problematic if it doesn't work this time. Is that shared this time?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Excellent, okay. So Aspect is a membership organization. If we think about, or if I just talk about quickly where this has come from, what we have is Aspect has a testbed platform, and so basically I think now Aspect has run over 60 testbed projects, which you can read about. There's loads of information on it here, and one of those was a project run by members. I'm just going to stop sharing for a second. Run by Bristol, Cardiff, I think Exeter, Edinburgh, York, Surrey, and Glasgow. And they had a number of successes, including contributing to a national shape training program, which is free support, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Other training that you can now access via Aspect, including LinkedIn training and engaging with external partners. And this project, this testbed project, was where the idea for the Toolkit series was born. What it came from was these different kind of support roles coming together and recognizing that we see a lot of academics creating toolkits, and we had a desire to figure out ways to support. So we wanted to create a type of support that wasn't already being provided elsewhere, so we weren't duplicating. And because there are other types of support out there, I will signpost to some of those now. In particular, with your toolkits, it's critical to be thinking about your audience and messaging. The support already exists, and I'll talk about that. Plus, your audience is tailored and it's specific to your research or your areas, so it might be difficult to kind of provide that quality support in this webinar sort of style. We didn't want to focus on just case studies without actually helping to make stuff happen. So this is about practical sort of knowledge. And we also didn't want to make it relevant to too narrow a field, so to one career stage or one discipline, or for small groups of attendees. So what we did want to do is focus on practical tools, how you capture, share, and communicate. We want to start with fundamentals, so how to do design, infographics, videos, websites, and other tools. And there's like loads more sessions that we can do. And if this does prove out to be useful, we would like to kind of deliver a second series with things like maybe CPD training platforms, explainer videos, AI tools would be really cool to do. I think Lucy said, we play around with these things anyway, so it'd be worthwhile.
The list was long, wasn't it? The list was long, and we thought, what will have the most direct impact immediately? And some of the tools we're going to talk about, I want to know more about the things you'll use immediately, and then we'll also want to hear from you as to what you'd like for series 2, if that's something we can do. Because we had a really long list. We're having a good debate about what questions you get asked the most, Robin. It was related to what you see as the need.
Exactly. Yeah. So we do want to add value and inspire and share examples and lots of great resources, particularly on the Aspect website. Also, we want to use this as an opportunity to highlight the work that you and other academics are doing. So hopefully there'll be a chance to do that. And we want to share as much as possible on the platform that we have. And we do have a platform which I'll bring up in a second. So I guess the ambition is for us to build a toolkit to help you build toolkits, and the webinar being a part of that, to signpost and share, inspire, develop knowledge, skills, make new connections. And I guess in many cases, you'll be able to do things more effectively, efficiently, perhaps cheaply, or with less expense. And that might be more important in the kind of current financial climate. And ultimately, if we can help you, sort of support you with to create toolkits with better outcomes and impact, well, that's a win-win for everyone, I think. So just because we show you how to do something yourself as well doesn't mean you have to. You can still engage with experts, team members, and others. But the result of these webinars, hopefully, is that you have more info for what you want and what is possible. So I guess the question about sort of where to start. I'll start doing more sort of screen share now. If this has sort of worked. Okay, so I know it looks like the initial image that we showed, but this is the Impact Toolkit kind of community platform. So here you will find the webinar schedule and any future ones that are coming up. We also have sort of the course sort of side, so you'll be able to find all the recorded content here, resources as well that we're able to share. So we'll have all of that in this platform. Plus, it's an area for you if you want to join to essentially ask any questions and communicate with others. So if you want to ask for contacts, ask for experts, or to find colleagues, or potentially people to work with and collaborate with, hopefully that's something that you can do here. Lucy is in charge of uploading the content from these sessions, and so you'll be able to sort of communicate on that sort of side. And ultimately, I suppose, if you're interested in building a kind of community, I mean, this platform itself is a great tool, so you can kind of consider the functionality of it for what you might on your own, or you might want to replicate this platform in the work that you do. So where else to begin? I mentioned that we're not covering kind of audience and things like that. So the ARC Accelerator, it goes by a few different names, but for simplicity, we'll just talk about it as the ARC Accelerator. It's a free program of support for SHAPE academics who are looking to create impact at scale from their research. If you're at the start of your journey, I would ask you to kind of consider signing up to ARC Discover. You can do that just from the website here. We'll send all the links for these addresses. And it's very straightforward. It's two-hour sessions where you learn about different forms of impact. You learn about what's right for you and your research, and you learn about you start looking at your audience and key messaging, and that will also help. So longer term, there is a focus on how you sustain and grow that impact. So it does introduce the idea of commercialization, which isn't about making money. It's about how you sort of sustain and grow your impact. So I do have a video here. I don't know if it's going to work this time around, but I will play it just on the off chance. And Lucy, you can give me a thumbs up if it does play.
SHAPE commercialization is key to unlocking the potential of our research base, both STEM and SHAPE, in solving the grand challenges of our time.
Areas like education, social policy, climate change, finance, all these areas where researchers are coming up with brilliant ideas, sometimes brilliant interventions. Some of them are for-profit ones, like helping mergers and acquisitions reduce their failure rate. Some of them are social, like helping local authorities bring disadvantaged groups back into work or education, making sure that health interventions are targeted well to reach the intended audiences. There are so many areas of our life, economy, society that social scientists, arts, and humanities researchers work on that can benefit from this. And that's what makes us excited.
To me, that's what great innovation is all about. How do we help people to get that great research out of the confines of the university in a way that's going to work?
Okay, so for toolkits, this is really about once you get to a certain stage, how do you sustain and evolve your toolkits? How do you maximize them, reach more people, have more impact with the resources that you've created? If you don't want to sign up to ARC Discover at this sort of point, you can always sign up to their newsletter, or you can go onto their website. They've got loads of free resources, like you can take on this ARC audience map, and then just start looking at different audiences, different needs, and kind of go from there. Where else in terms of starting, I would suggest signing up to Aspect. So it's free to sign up to. So, you know, your universities are members, you can sign up and access the member areas. There's free live training like this and the other ones I mentioned. There is also self-study sort of training. So you can, you know, for instance, they've got social venture pathway, they've got things around games, the Games Hub for developing games. There's over 400 tools and templates on Aspect, which I guess in themselves are useful, but also in terms of in relation to toolkits, it's about providing the ideas for what your toolkits might look like and what resources, you know, you might decide to put into what format. So, and I think at that point, it's kind of a good idea to sort of maybe share some examples of some toolkits as well, if I may. So the types of things that you might be sort of developing. And this is going to be a bit of a speed run through, just a sort of taster. And I guess some of the stuff I show as well highlights Lucy will be having conversations with academics involved in some of these different toolkits. And we will put all the links on the platform as well, so you'll be able to access it from that sort of side. So I mean, the train the trainer one is a great one to start with, because it's a whole package of kind of toolkits. You can kind of go into the resources. I'm on a different section at the moment, so that one won't work, but the train the trainer one is particularly good for having a look at. Next webinar we have is going to be on design tools. So here's an example of a zine from an academic in anthropology, and I think like the reason I'm showing this is it has a, you know, a particularly lovely design, but it's also a powerful way to kind of communicate what is a sort of difficult topic, I would say. So, and also on the Aspect site, you can get access to things like how you know, approaches to creating collaborative zines. So for example, this one done by Manchester, and it gives full instructional sort of guides. And again, this for doing collaborative zine making is useful, but also using it as a sort of idea template for how you might do instructions on, you know, some of your resources. Next, so we've got Meals on Wheels, which is a school of education sort of design and infographic, and this is quite interesting and useful because there's two kind of resources that are being developed. One is thinking about an audience of the user and beneficiary, and then a second one where, you know, very much thinking about sort of policymakers and people that might actually be able to sort of support from a more strategic kind of level. We have when it comes to, you know, using mobile phones to create video, just an interesting example from Camille Morelli at Bristol as well, just teaching children in Amazonian tribes how to use mobile phones to create stop click animation. So again, just something that's really nice and sort of powerful in terms of resources that are being created. We've got stuff that we're going to be doing on websites. Again, this was a reasonably sort of straightforward website, a School of Education example. where there is a toolkit that's being built onto the website. And essentially, it's around supporting early career, early years educators to think about research practices. So, you know, here essentially all the material for the CPD training is built into the website itself. Again, another example from Aspect Network is material around, you know, sort of guides. In terms of this one is around commercialization, but there's lots of other ones around. So how you break instructions down into separate sort of documents and then provide that in a way. And I particularly like this one as well. There's a lovely animated video, which I don't think we've got enough time to sort of show around as an explainer video. So very useful. React one, so with lots of different universities involved, including academics at York. But again, it provided their toolbox on the website with an explainer video. But basically, this one's quite useful because it shows a whole different array of providing, you know, toolbox of information from infographics to design instructional documents. So that's good. At one of our webinars, we'll be introducing you to colleagues from the Bristow Institute who have their own sort of set of toolkits. A lot of these around interactive workshops and some really cool ways of basically putting content online, you know, and sort of creating tools that people can then access themselves. Other interactive tools we have, so we're prototyping map development stuff, and this is very simple and straightforward to do, so that again, the kind of meals on wheels for the provision, so that you can see information and essentially users of these services can find out you know where they can go to get their immersive sort of provision. We've got other interactive sort of tools, this one around ecosystem frameworks. So this can be used for kind of data sort of slides. I won't go into too much, but we did a few versions of that. There's also information on podcasts and creating podcasts, and some examples of podcasts on Aspect. And these ones are audio podcasts. We've got a great example as well from the Good Grief Festival, which is academics at the School of English and also Bristol Medical School, where they've been creating video podcasts. So that's just a sort of bit of a whirlwind on that sort of side of things. Hopefully that's somewhat useful. I guess one of the things I wanted to say, and one of the insights I have, that is if you look at the later stage projects, I mean, in particular that I support, if I look at our growing portfolio of academic spin-outs of social ventures and such, the origins of these are all in toolkits. So, for example, this is the last, I'm getting towards the end now. So, so School of Education, so a project that started as a journaling research toolkit for teacher well-being. The diary toolkit is now a spin-out from Bristol, and it's now a social enterprise where you can purchase this physical diary toolkit for sale, and offers CPD around well-being. From sociology, from sociology, politics, and international studies. So we've got a spin-out Equal Insight. And this started as an equalities toolkit to promote equality and diversity in the workplace. And now it uses social network analysis and machine learning to diagnose systematic issues in organizations, which is just, you know, pretty amazing. Bridging Histories, so this started School of Philosophy, a project which started as a toolkit with 6 workshop interventions designed to help people to learn to kind of learn about their history and to share that history with others. It's now a social enterprise seeking to kind of to develop and connect, 100 communities globally, and basically it's pretty mind-blowing where some of these kind of toolkits are going. And finally, we've got from the School of Theatre, which was originally a project which started as a kind of creative consultancy process. Let's see if I can share this on a bigger level. Has that disappeared or it's still there? Still there?
No, it's still there.
So School of Theatre project started a consultation process for planning, for buildings and developments. And it's now the Future Places Toolkit, and it embraces AR to build more diverse engagements. So, I don't think most toolkits need to progress to this stage, but I do think there's value in seeing and sharing what's possible. And for those of you on the call in support roles like me, I'll just stop sharing that for a second. I guess, yeah, for those of you in a call with me, if one of your questions is like, how do I find future projects to support? I would say look to the toolkits that academics are producing. If one of your questions is, how do I support earlier stage projects in pipeline? How do I support how do I support them? Suggest signing them up to this webinar, or they can access the platform afterwards for material. There's definitely more academics in most institutions that can sign up, and hopefully it's a successful pilot and we get to kind of do more, and in which case you can people can sign up for future series. So I just wanted to finish on one concept sort of slide. I'll just so just kind of thinking about how toolkits evolve over time. And so we can think of impacts coming out of research, and sort of growing. It might start local, and then with a desire to increase further national, international, possibly global. And with that increase in reach, you might start with just yourself, one user trialing it, then with a group, and then sort of moving through to having multiple partners. So I would say as a toolkit, sort of as that sort of journey sort of develops, I think the toolkits themselves can develop as well. So they sort of can move their way sort of through. And just to kind of touch on the few things that I sort of think about is, at that early stage where you're creating your intervention, some of your initial phases might be around you delivering training direct to sort of people or groups or individuals, but eventually you might need to progress and develop into a train the trainer model, or even putting these sort of propositions online in digital sort of format. So it's worth sort of thinking about where you're at the moment. And the same with toolkits themselves, is that you might not need to be developing websites or apps in the initial instance, but that might be something that's a bit sort of further down the line. So so I think what I'm trying to say is you don't need to do everything at once, and many toolkits just don't need that scale of development, at least not right away. So it's a journey. Think about it. Where are you at now? Where do you want to get to? And what do you need to do first? So I think that's all from me, except for Lucy, to sort of hand back to you, if that's okay. And I think to repay your favor and sort of introducing me, just to sort of say why we kind of selected you to sort of host these webinars. First of all, you were willing to take it on as a pilot and kind of develop it from a bit of an initial idea. You're able to go out there and find the experts, really good at facilitating the discussions and asking, taking questions from the community. Great at community building. And I think what I would say as well to the sort of audience is, you know, you've got a huge array of contacts. So if you're looking for someone, for an expert, you know, whether that's on one of the topics or not, like design or web or, you know, etc., that people can reach out to you.
Yep.
I think if I can put that offer out there,
I'm going to be managing the platform. So I'm part of the glue of the community as well as the host. So it's my job to keep this interesting and bubbling along and hopefully on the right track. And there's some interesting questions. I think impact is an interesting word, as is toolkits. That's what I'm basically seeing from the chat, Robin, is measuring the impact of toolkits. I think we're kind of a step back here, aren't we? We're looking at how you get your project to reach more people, what tools you can use. I feel like we have a language minefield going on.
part of this kind of discussion is working out some of the language and what best to do, or what best to use, and also using this kind of communication to figure out what else people really sort of need. So I think the starting point is to provide some useful sort of content, but really where this kind of grows and evolves is going to be kind of dependent on some of the interaction, if there is any, and that sort of follow-up. So
and a good question from Robert about finding website designers. What we'll be covering in that session on websites is helping you know what you need. So you'll then know what to go and ask somebody. I mean, I'm based in Bath, as Robin said, you know, if you're in the Southwest, I know some great agencies, but I think a lot of people I deal with, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what to ask. So we'll be demystifying as to whether you just want to, as Robin said, do you even need a website, or do you just need a landing page, which, you know, any of us, and I mean that genuinely, could build, or do you need something more complicated? I think it's just different stages. Everybody wants everything all at once, but none of us have got the time or the budget to do that. But we do need to get started. And there's some amazing tools that allow you to do that for very little time or money. And that's kind of the empowering message.
Yeah, and I do think there are lots of stages projects get to where they need bespoke websites. But from my position, I also see it for some of the earlier stuff where we're still trialing that actually the build it yourself kind of websites will get you ways down that sort of line. And I'm putting a lot of money into building something bespoke when, you know, your funds could go elsewhere to sort of prove what you're doing is useful. But definitely one of the parts of that particular webinar is kind of speaking with some of the experts to sort of say when do you build yourself and when do you when you call an expert in terms of looking for an expert. I think we definitely have access to lots of people around who do that. The question is, is just making sure it's right for you and
giving them the right instruction. And yeah, Karen, I know that was a whiz through on Robin's website, all his little tabs he had open. We're putting all that in the Toolkits Programme platform. So I will be getting all of those tabs out of Robin's laptop and putting it in a basically probably a document for you on the platform, so you can access all of those. So the way the chat is working, as I mentioned at the beginning, is that we, rather than having everything in the chat, we wanted to have everything managed from a content perspective in the platform, so it's all referenceable for those who couldn't be here today, because there's lots of people who couldn't make today. Also, they're going to engage and kind of cherry pick what they come along to. So I wanted to make sure that it was available for everyone to have access to. So don't worry that you haven't missed anything.
Just to that point then as well, I did want to do it as a whiz through, just to give you a sense of the type of things to come and the type of things that you might be able to create, not to kind of go deep in this.
And we have a whole session on sharing that, don't we? So that's coming up. So Robin, you've done all that. We've done all the intro, the signing up to the platform. We're going to put the link into that. And yeah, ARC is great. I mean, I've been on some of their workshops, and again, just getting that clarity and just even spending some time out thinking about who it's for and what you want to do. So what have we got coming up? Hopefully you've all seen this. We've got 9 one-hour workshops, getting different experts on board, recorded and shared to the Impacts Toolkit Programme platform, complemented by additional resources and with lots of community engagement. So this is the schedule. I'm not going to read this out. You can read what's coming up. Hopefully you've seen that. We're taking 29th of May off. It's half term. We assume you'd all probably like to have some holiday. And these are the topics that we've chosen. And I'm going to very quickly whiz through what we've got coming up. And I'm also going to make sure you're all still with us. So I'm going to do a quick little poll on everybody about Canva. Have you ever used Canva? I mean, I could go into have you ever heard of it, but And thank you all for the fact you're engaging in doing this. Oh, that's a really good mix. Couple more to go. Brilliant. So I'm going to end the poll there and I'm going to share it. We've got a good 50-50, which is great. Canva, I adore it. It's such a fabulous tool, but I wanted to see what level we've got. And there's a good mix there. So you may or may not know that it was launched in 2013, and it really tackled an issue that a lot of us had if we didn't use Adobe or weren't designers or creatives to be able to create anything pretty much. We're going to talk about that in a second. But the scale of this, the 130 million users, 15 billion designs created, it's vast. And it's really the user experience, I think. And I won't read this out. You can read all that because here you go. You can pretty much create anything you'd like in it, from even like a website design through to an infographic, through to social media, templates and tools. And it's fun. I really enjoy it. You can add images in there. You can put presentations on there. And, it has lots of ideas and templates and styles. So Robert Llewellyn is the academic there with his hydrogen on Canva. That photograph was cut off. He didn't have a shoulder. Using AI in Canva, we rebuilt the shoulder and then put that image on the back, and you can do cartoons. And that Bath Digital Festival, blatant plug, 2 weeks time. You can also create graphics like that for social media. So it's absolutely fantastic. Moving on from Canva, we then get into infographics because you can create them in Canva, but we also wanted to delve more into what they can do because they're such a great visualization for any kind of data. And I wanted to ask you, I'm making sure you're awake again. Have you ever created an infographic? I know I consume loads of them. There's a really amazing magazine called Delayed Gratification, which looks at the news from 6 months ago. But it also looks at things like one that I remember is like the Bond films ranking for how many, car chases there are, and just really great visual ways to represent very complex data sets. I'll end this post. We've got a bit. There you go. I'm assuming the people who've said yes have had a go on Canva or have done sort of. I've had a play. Delayed Gratification actually did a webinar on creating infographics, which was amazing. But I'm with the other 33% that I'm a little bit daunted about how you play with the data. So we're going to be delving into that. So we're going to get really excited about Canva and what it can do, and then we're going to look at getting into some more details, simplifying the complex information, enhancing retention, broadening the audience reach. I think a lot of us are quite put off by a lot of complex information, especially if we don't entirely have all the background of it. So we're going to reach more people by using different tools, being wary of that word, but also facilitating shareability. Infographics are brilliant on social media. You're trying to put a white paper on social media, that's a challenge. People aren't going to read it. Our attention spans, reading that sort of first couple of thousand if you're lucky. If you put an infographic, you whet someone's appetite, they're going to go through and have a look. Enhancing professional visibility. It's a different way of showing your character, your energy, and increasing citation potential. Lots of great reasons for using infographics. And then this is a little trilogy that we're starting off with, which is very, very visual. Better photography using your phones. Again, it's been over the last few years, it's gone from being, remember when phones, Robin, were just for phone calls and texts? I mean, I'm that old, and obviously playing Snake, that's literally all they were there for. So do you feel confident in using your phone for photography? I'm also loving the speed of the engagement on the polls. It's brilliant. Everyone's awake and engaged. And we've got a lot of confidence in here. I love it. Cool. So I'm going to end that poll, share the results. So yeah, there we go. There's a lot of confidence in there, and and the reason I'm taking these polls is I'm going to talk to you about the expert we have running these 3 sessions. I'm going to give this information to him because I wanted, again, this is part of a community. We want to make sure we're at the right level for each of these sessions. So, our smartphones are pretty amazing. And it means people are so keen to see behind the scenes of any project, of any academic, of any insight. They want to get, they want those in the moment visuals. Again, it makes it more accessible, engaging, impactful. What this session is going to cover is, even if you're confident with taking photos using your phone, we're going to take it up another level. We're going to look at composition and light and horizontal, vertical, negative space. This is actually taken from the opening of that actual session, and shooting for the edit. This is taking it to a whole different league, basically. So those first 3 sessions are going to be run by George from Blue Fire Films, and he's worked in TV and film for over 20 years. He joined the BBC to work with Sir David Attenborough on the series State of the Planet, and he's travelled the world producing and directing internationally renowned documentaries. And he's really passionate about great visuals. He understands the power of visual storytelling, and he uses these tools all the time. And so we've borrowed him. He's got a PhD in evolutionary biology. So he's a scientist, a researcher. So he really understands about that translating, bringing discoveries and ideas to life on screen, whatever screen that might be, from our, handheld to your laptop. So yeah, he is going to be guiding us through those first 3 sessions, which starts next week. And he was chosen because he really understands where you are, as well as, where your consumers might be. So good old George, I'm looking forward to that. And then after you got all excited about your infographics and your canvas and your photographs, we're going to move on to what Robin just touched on, is that the website. Looking at what you actually need, what it's for, not who it's for. We're not going to get too much delving into that. That's covered on other sessions. And you know what to expect now. I'm going to do just a little poll. So which website builder tools have you ever used? As you can see, we've got Wix and Weebly, Squarespace, WordPress. Some of these are very easy to work on. Some of them are quite challenging. We've got a nice mix on here as well. I've personally built sites in Wix and Weebly and Squarespace. I've edited sites on WordPress, and I'm not quite sure where to start if I was starting from scratch. So I'm kind of in the middle on this. And it feels like we've got a good mix on that as well. There you get to share all the results so you can see who we all are. So a good mix of confidence. Thank you very much. And what we're going to do on this project is exactly what Robin, on this session rather, exactly what Robin was saying, is like, where do you need to be? What do you need to do? Do we need to hire somebody, or can you get it to good enough through using one of these tools? And we'll be talking about some examples as well. So reviewing the platforms, planning the site, reviewing the pages, but keeping it really simple. Website builds can very quickly become overwhelming, become too big. We all know you're time poor, and if you can just get a great landing page up there, using, of course, the brilliant photography you've taken using your phone, thanks to George, and maybe some Canva graphics, thanks to George, bringing all these pieces together, you can see the narrative, can't you? You can see the logic of our journey here, but also things like analytics, keywords, SEO. There's lots of great information, great resources to help you demystify this. There's a webinar happening this month, actually, run by the Growth Hub here about SEO, because a lot of small businesses, let alone ourselves, don't really understand where to start with SEO, but it might be it's not relevant because you know who you're talking to. You just want to bring something to their attention. So we're going to really review what it looks like and make things less overwhelming and make you feel more confident to act. I think that's a key theme that Robin and I have through this. Interactive tools is the next session. The brilliantly named, gorgeous icon Impactosaurus is a tool I love using, and it's a simple and free, as it says, social impact reporting tool. I've used this on a number of projects, and it is a survey tool, but you can you build it yourself. You capture, monitor, report on soft outcomes, and it helps you attract funding, improve your service. It's brilliant. It's free. And we'll be talking to you more about that in this session. But just different ways to engage your audience, get data, like the bit of fun we're having with the polls today. You don't want to be, talking to yourself when you're working on these projects. You want to get support. Another reason why we're doing this, using the platform to engage the community. But Typeform, Slido, Mentimeter, lots of really good ways to get engagement and get feedback, so you know that what you're doing is going in the right direction. I worked a lot with tech founders, so I could be rude about them. A lot of them do the whole build it and they will come. And they will spend, stop laughing, Robin, it's true. They will spend a lot of time building a thing to then realize that there's no audience for it. So the more that you can start, you can sanity check, you can get your landing page out, you can do some social media split testing and just start planting the seeds that you're out there, you're doing some great stuff. It might be for collaboration with different universities. It could be collaboration with your business community, students, whatever. We need to use some tools to get that engagement going on. Then we're going to move on to low and no code. Some of the solutions we've already talked about. I think the joy for me, as someone who's worked in tech for 30 years, but is definitely not a techie, is the future doesn't require coding. There are some amazing, I'm waiting for apps to be buildable in low code, no code. I know that's coming. They're not quite as good as websites, but it just means we can all suddenly build things and get things out to market really easily. We talked about Wix and Squarespace and WordPress. There are some apps coming. They're not quite as powerful as building it yourself as yet. That's going to come though, isn't it? Some great database management tools, automation, interactive content learning, data visualization. Again, this thread coming through, we're getting slightly more complicated than where we started at the top of the series, but we're now taking it to the next level on what tools are available to start giving us a richer data experience or data narrative, potentially, depending on what you want to be having in there. Podcasts, you mentioned this, Robin, another great way to get people across. I like the fact people are watching podcasts now. That feels like a really weird relationship with it, but that's what people are how they're consuming it. And a nice, easy question: do you listen to podcasts? And I thought the demographics quite interesting here, because there's always a challenge. It's how you reach younger audiences. And a lot of traditional social media's demographics are a lot older now, people like Facebook. So yeah, let's have a look. We all listen to podcasts. We know what makes a good podcast. We know why we listen or why we don't listen, probably a better way of putting it. But if you want to reach a younger generation, I think podcasting is great. And also, it's really good fun. It's a little bit like doing this, but, putting it on a podcast platform. It's a different way to engage. And you can also, from recording a podcast, as we're going to do, we're going to run it through AI, and we're going to create articles, feedback. So for all the sessions, we're going to do that. So creating that audio and visual potentially is brilliant for expanding your reach, enhancing engagement, multi-module learning. People learn in different ways. So all these different tools, the ideal is you thread them all together so that you can engage with everybody. There's no excuse for someone not to support your project or your research, whatever it may be. Collaboration, interview lots of people, get people on your podcast, building a community, back to that, starting a conversation. And then the final one I'm going to talk about is the tools and platforms to build your community. Yes, I've put the Twitter old school. I'm not putting X up there, Robin. I'm just not. We're going to put Twitter. We know what we mean. Social media, again, looking at who you're talking to and where they are. LinkedIn, Mighty Networks also has actually is a platform to put your community on. Some of these, like LinkedIn, might be where you find somebody, but you might want to start a community page on there if that's who you're talking to, depending on the demographics. Again, there's an element here absolutely dovetailing into ARC and the work that they do, is if we know who we're talking to, we know where they are, we know what to say to them, when to say to them. Hopin is a brilliant engagement tool. It's a bit like Zoom. There are lots of great platforms out there for you to engage and share your content and encourage more support from the community around you. And that's my little whiz through what we've got coming up. I mean, the key purpose for me for that was to tell you a little bit about the level, but also to gauge where you are. So thank you very much for doing those polls. But I didn't also go through all the hosts. We have hosts for each one through there. People like Mark Corduroy, who's going to be helping us with he's doing low code, no code, isn't he, Mark? Brilliant stuff. And I'm tapping into the Tech Spark community, which is the tech community in Bristol, Bath, and Wiltshire, to help with some of the other sessions as well. And I've already got people offering to come and do some of the later ones, like we talk about AI. It's all going to be recorded. And this is the link to the Impact Toolkits Programme platform. Rolls off the tongue. So we're going to also share that in the chat. Robin, could you share that in the chat, please, as my lovely assistant here? And we'll share a review article of the session and additional content. And we want your feedback on the future sessions because, the first three are very well defined, and we want to listen to you and engage with you and get feedback from you on the platform, which I'm going to be to managing. As to, if there's a website, like the topics we've covered there, some people mentioned they've used other sites. Tell us what they are. Thank you, Robin. Perfect in the chat there. We'd like your feedback, and we'd like you to be engaged. This is meant to be a community conversation. So my key asks to everybody: check that all the future sessions are in your diaries. Hopefully Zoom has added them to all your diaries going forward. Sign up to the platform. And talk to us, share your resources. If there's some toolkits that you've seen that you think are amazing, or if that you'd like some feedback on your toolkit, for example, get involved. Let's start a conversation. Robin, what are your final thoughts?
That's brilliant. We do have a couple of minor tech sort of challenge, which is that people can't see the chat itself.
That's
So
okay. I can put that in here. There we go. So hopefully, there you go. So there we go. So the chat is disabled because we are recording this session, which is why there isn't a broader community chat, and we're just sticking within the questions. And you can see that there is the Impact Toolkit. If you can't see that, we're going to send it a post-event email anyway. So if there's for any reason you can't see that, you will be receiving it from us this afternoon. Tom's got it. Thank you, Tom. It's because Robin put it in the chat to me. That's probably my fault. That's all good.
thank you for letting everybody know that I messed up on that, Lucy. Appreciate it.
You and the tech are having a great time today, aren't you? It's all good.
Oh, it could be a lot worse. Could be a lot worse. I think that was brilliant. It's a great overview for everything. I don't see any other